Good morning, Grant Wiley here from Worthington Publishing. What do you do when you wake up at 4:30 in the morning and can't sleep? You make a how to play video on your latest game, Enemies of Rome. That's right, I've got the board all set up here showing a red player with 3 legions there in Neapolis and a yellow player here with 3 legions here in Hispania. To start the game, you get to set up 3 legions per player in any one of the 5 starting areas. Start with the youngest player and then work your way around the board, or most experienced player. Then you set up 2 enemies of Rome in each of the other areas that are open. If you're playing with 3 players, you'd put, each player would get to pick one of the 5 starting areas. Just so you notice, these are forts. It means you roll 1 extra cube per legion in battle. So I would roll 6 battle dice for the Roman player in battle and score hits for each cross sword. So that would be 3 hits. The enemy of Rome's always roll their dice equal to the number of cubes they have attacking an area, but they hit a little bit less. So to start the game, how you start, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up, is you have 3 decks. A gray action deck, and then 3 period decks for each period in Rome history. So you start with deck 1, which runs from 300 to about 150 BC, then deck 2 from 150 to 150, and then deck 3 from 150 to 300 AD. So you take your action deck. Sorry about the hand, excuse the hand. After you set your board, and you deal 8 after shuffling your action cards. Look at the hand. You deal 8 action cards into each of the 5, 6, 7, 8 into each of the periods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the last card becomes your discard pile. You just kind of place that face down on the side of the thing. You shuffle for 2 players. What you do is then you shuffle each period deck. And deck 3 is your bottom deck. You start with that. And for 2 players, you're going to take off the top 2 cards from each deck and place it into the discard pile. So you don't know if you're losing actions or events. Now the events are based on historical events from the time periods they represent. The action cards just represent general actions that a Roman player could take. That's deck 2 that goes on top of deck 3, and we're going to take the top 2 cards off there since I forgot to do that. And then deck 1 finally. And I'm not doing a good shuffle on these, just a quick shuffle. And I'll take the top 2 cards off of there. You then deal 2 cards to each player. And I'm going to place these face up. There's the yellow player. And here is the red player. Man, I did not do a good job shuffling these. There's your draw deck. You can place that to the side. You can place the this deck face up so you know it's reserve or the discard deck. Now up in the top corner up here I have my I put 2 catapults up there to keep score. It says cubes. You can use whatever you want, some sort of marker to mark your color. Pick the first player. I'll start with red. So red has 2 cards to play, and one is the Servile Wars, or one is the First Punic War. And we're going to play the First Punic. Actually, I'm going out of sequence because it's 4:30 in the morning. Sequence is pretty simple. You place 3 units. So I get to place 3 units right away into an area I already control. Okay? If you don't control an area, say you were eliminated from the board at the previous turn, you can place it in any enemy of Rome area. Okay? You can't place it in an area immediately with opposing legions. Okay? Next comes the intrigue phase. They have these things called intrigue talents. Once you gain 5 points, you get an intrigue talent. That can be used to build forts, extra armies, convert enemies of Rome to your legions, or, gosh, what's the other thing? I can't even think right now. Anyway, next you add glory. You play a card, and you can play one of the 2 cards in your hand, and that's what I'm going to get into real quick. This is the first servile war. I could place 4 enemy of Rome cubes in Sicilia. If there's any of my units in Sicilia or another player's units in Sicilia, you would conduct a battle, and then for each cube eliminated in battle, immediately add 1 enemy of Rome and continue the battle. So it represents an uprising, and as your units are being eliminated, they are converting to enemies of Rome. And I could do 1 land move with a legion. Instead, I'm going to play the first Punic War, and I can place 3. I'm going to take them from my pile up here. These are fixed limits. 3 enemy of Rome cube, and place them in Sicilia, and 3 in Numidia. And it's marked on the card showing you exactly where these areas are, so you don't have to scramble around looking for what's going on. Now I can do 3 legion group moves. All or some may be naval moves. A group of legions is 5 cubes, so I could move up to 15 cubes, but each group has to start from a specific area. Right now, since we're just starting the game, all of Red's cubes are in Neapolis, so I'm going to be bold here, and I'm going to take 3, and I'm going to take 4, and just do 1 group move to Italia. I want to expand my border north up into Italia. So I am rolling 4 Roman dice against 2 enemy of Rome. And I got no Roman hits. And I'll try and zoom in here on these. I got no Roman hits. And as you can see, 1 enemy of Rome. So I pull my enemy of Rome, or my legion, off. I'm now down to 3 Roman cubes. Battles are to the death. There is no retreat. Alright, 1 and 1. We'll pull off 1 and 1 die. Another enemy of Rome. This shouldn't be happening because the Romans, better trained warriors, get 3 hits per die, while the enemy of Rome only get 2. And my legion is eliminated. So, the enemy of Rome has held off in Italia. I gained no glory points. You get a glory point every time you take an area. And again, once you get 5 glory points, you can you get an intrigue talent for that area, or that you can spend. And again, you can build forts, you can build catapults. Catapults negate the effect of fort. So if I have an army moving with a catapult, if I were attacking this area, which is a fort, they would not roll 1 extra die per cube. So we pull that off. We draw a new card for the red player. And now we go to yellow. They call them mellow yellow. And we have the Macedonian Wars. Again, I didn't do a good draw here, or a good job shuffling. It's 2 different cards. Philip builds a fleet. I can place 3 cubes in Macedonia and then do 3 enemy of Rome naval moves. Or I can do Philip V challenges Rome. And that's going to be the one I play. I place 5 enemy of Rome cubes, and I'm going to grab these up here. I place these in Macedonia, and again it shows you right on the card where these go. Place those 5 there. I can, and then change any in Achaia, any enemy of, oh, and I forgot to place my 3 legions with them, sorry guys, up here in Hispania. So they added their 3 legions. I'm going kind of quick, trying to make sure I get this in before the battery dies. I change any enemy of Rome cubes in Achaia to my color. So I will pull these off from Achaia, and then I get to add mine. So I've converted these to an ally. And I can move in battle with my cubes in Achaia. Well, considering I've only got 2 cubes there and I'm landlocked here, I don't want to take on Philip here in Macedonia, that's going to be it. I don't get a glory point because I didn't take that in battle. And now we'll go back to red player. He's going to take his 3 new legions. And am I doing that right? Or is it 2? Grant has already forgotten. Again, 3 legions. I was right on the money. And now I have Servile Wars and Celtiberian Wars. Now, this is interesting because this is a card that can help me right away. Screw with my opponent. I can place... You can't see it, but it says place 3 enemy of Rome cubes each in Hispania, Lusitania, and Baetica, which is right up here where the yellow player is. So we're going to play this right away. And we're going to place 3 in Lusitania, 3 in Baetica, and then 3 here in Hispania. I don't want him building up, so immediately this leads to a battle. Now he's got 6 Legion cubes there, and I've got 3 enemy of Rome. So I'll roll the red and green. Oop. And again, I don't know what's going on here, but we have 2 enemy of Rome hits. And I got to roll 1 more for them, and that is nothing. Okay, this is not good. I have 4 Legion cubes and 3 enemy of Rome cubes. 1 and 1. So we pull off 1 yellow, 1 enemy of Rome. And now we're down to 3 and 2. 3 Roman legions against 2 cubes. Okay, we finished them off. They still took out 1 of us, but we eliminated 2 of those, which sustains me here. Now, the yellow player, just because he held his area, does not mean he gets a glory point. Oh, and also, I forgot, I get 2 legion moves here for me. 1 may be a naval move. So I completed that battle because that causes an instant battle. And now I can do naval move. We're going back up here to Italia because there's only 1 enemy of Rome there, because my legions paid a heavy price for their actions earlier. And we will conduct this battle. Whoop, this battle up here in Italia. So I roll 3 Rome against 1 enemy of Rome. I roll 1 Roman hit. No enemy of Rome. So my units have taken that area. I get 1 glory point for the red Roman player. I draw a new card. And finally we drew an action card. Action cards don't have historical events. They're actions. 2 naval moves, 2 Roman Legion naval moves, or I can move, do a naval move by an enemy of Rome. When you move the enemies of Rome, normally it's all the units from an area except for 1 cube. You've always got to leave 1 cube in an area, whether it's the Roman player or the enemy of Rome. You can never vacate an area entirely. Naval moves are these white lines separate naval area, are into your current area or up to 1 adjacent area away. So from Sicilia I could move here into this area of the Mediterranean, or I can move out here to the Atlantic and go after Britannia or something like that. Guys, that gives you a brief overview on how to play enemies of Rome. It continues like that until the last card is played, at which point you determine a winner based on the score on the glory track. There's a good deal of strategy to this game in how and when you play your cards. A player may think they're secure depending on where the action's occurring. You'll find later in the games that the enemies of Rome start appearing more and more across the board. And you get the option of not only moving your legions, but moving the enemies of Rome as well, which represents the more sophisticated dealings with some of the tribes. For example, you know, Caesar with the tribes up here for Centrix and things like that. The Belgica, you know, playing the tribes against each other. Rome was very sophisticated in how they dealt with this and in their dealings with the many tribes. So you know this game is designed for 2 to 5 players. However, I will tell you that I played this solitaire in designing it. You just start out with your one area that you pick, and then play the cards. You know, if it says place 3 units in Macedonia, the enemies of Rome are going to appear. Obviously, with your, you know, it's rare you're going to play a card against yourself, but you may not have a choice. Eventually, it's going to pile up on you, and it's picking the wins and wares and seeing how many points you can end up with on the glory track. Again, playable up to 5 players. It plays probably in under 2 hours. You know, we took a number of suggestions from play testers, such as on the cards, making sure that, you know, when you talk about an area on the board, you show the area on the card so I don't have to hunt all over the board for some of these smaller islands like Belarus and Corsica and Creta and Cyprus. The action flares up around the board at different points. You got the Numidian War going on early in the game, the first and second, which occurs a lot here in Africa, Spain, and Italy. And then as the game broadens out, you'll end up over here in the Middle East, in like Syria and Palestinia and Arabia. And then the action will shift here to the center. But again, you can hold those cards in your hand, you know, the season 1 cards in your hand until later. You've only got 2 in your hand, so you could play through a bunch and then, you know, drop a bomb on your opponent. One of the bigger ones is the Gallic Uprising, where you're going to get a number of tribes popping up here in the middle. Players can go against other players, other legions, in which case you always roll the legion dice. You roll 1 die per cube. But guys, that's really about it. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview. Played out at 5 o'clock in the morning here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't ordered this, you can still order it. It's available out on our website right now still for the discounted price, I believe. That's about it. Today, your job. Play a game, teach a game, but most of all, happy gaming.